That is your binding around the outside. So I'll just neatly fold this up. And then I've told you to cut 6 by 2.5 inch strips width of fabric. And what we need to do is we need to put all these widths of fabric end to end. So you've got a really big long strip of fabric. And the correct way to do it, which I will show you the correct way to do it, is what you do is you'll be overlapping your fabric like that. So this has got to be right sides together. So fabric facing up, this fabric facing down, so it makes it right side together. You get your little ruler, or any ruler actually, put your strip through the middle down on that actual line on the edge of your fabric, right up to the corner, and then you just draw a line on a 45-degree angle. So you've got a 45-degree angle line that is going to be overlapping. So if we pin that, which I'll get a pin, if we pin that close to the line, when you fold it out, once it's sewn, it folds out like that, so you get a really nice finish. I will quickly sew that. So now you take it off and you've got a really nice finish. And for every one of those that you do, you put it back down, get your ruler, put your quarter inch line on your seam and trim that back. Right, so that's trimmed back. And that's the finished seam. So what we need to do is we'll add them all together, which I have done. I just need to do one more. And when you're doing them, you've got to be really careful, because remember, it's right side up and right side down. So they're right sides together. Once again, I'll show you. Get your ruler, put your 45-degree angle along that cut. Draw your 45-degree angle line across there. Pin it nice and firmly so that it's all not going to slide around, and that the sides are lining up, like the end of that strip and the side of that strip are lining up. Bring it to your machine. Start it in a little bit and then reverse back. And you get a nice finish. Just trim that off. I've done the rest of them. Then we've got one big long line of all of them stuck together. So we're going to take it over to the ironing board and give it a press. Mainly those seams you want to press, make sure that they're nice and flat, because you're going to put this through another Pauline Rogers sashing tool. So just anything that needs a bit of an iron, go over it and iron those seams to one side. Got lots of this stuff here. Lots of it. Oh no, nearly to the end. Then you've got to get your 1.5 inch sasher tool, and we're going to do it differently to what we do with the normal, like what we did with the 2 inch sasher tool. We're going to just, sorry, not 1.5, 1.25 inch sasher tool. And basically all you do is you that over that side. Make sure that you're folding it into each other with your seam on the inside, and then you just give it a little bit of an iron in half, and you just put it up through your sasha tool, and you're just basically going to iron the piece of fabric in half. So that's the difference between the two, is that you had the one piece of fabric that turned in and then you put it through the sasha tool. This one here, you're just basically turning it in half and putting it through. So that's how you make bindings. It's not necessary to have the sasha tool, just get less burnt fingers. So I'm just going to go through and do this. And I'll come back afterwards once I've done this 200 miles of binding. So we've ironed our binding. It's a 2.5 inch binding in half using our 1 1/4 inch Pauline Rogers sasha tool. And now I'm going to show you how to actually attach it to your quilt. Now this, to me, is the most sensible way. Not all quilters like to do this, but this to me is the easy way. You're not going to have to do any hand stitching. I don't like hand stitching unless it's actually embroidery. So what you do is you just pin a couple, pin in like from the inside to the out, so you've got your pin out there. And what we want to do is we want to create, pin it down about, I don't know, 6 inches, 6 or 8 inches. We want to create a triangle in here. So you've got a triangle there, and then you fold it over again. So you've got like a little pouch for your end of your actual, when the binding's been put all the way around, your binding will go in there and it'll be hidden. So create that little triangle by folding it over like that, and just finger press it and then fold it over again like that. So just attach it again. Put your pins in down all the way around. You can go just down one side, but I'm just going to put it a little bit so I can show you how we started. So you start at the tip here on a 1/4 inch seam. So you've got your 1/4 inch foot on. I've got the mono poly thread on, so it's not going to show at the top. If you've got normal Rasant thread, it's going to show when it'll show through on the top. So I put the mono poly in there. You sew down over the top of there. When you get to this little pocket, just open it up a little bit, sew down probably 1 inch or so, pull the needle up, and then put that underneath there and start sewing. So you don't have to back stitch there or anything, just go from there. So then you go down to, we're going to sew all the way down till about 1/4 inch before the actual corner. Then we're going to stop. I'm not going to pin all of it. I just pinned the start of it to get it going. I'm fairly experienced, so I'm used to it, but not a bad idea to pin. Or you can get special, what they call quilt clips, and you can clip them on. Clip your binding on with that. So you're sewing it on the back of the quilt. You're putting that little triangle to start, which will hide your, it'll hide your the end of your sashing when you get to it. And I'll show you all that. And you're just sewing right to the end with the 1/4 inch seam. Just moving your quilt and repositioning things just so you can get a comfortable kind of sew. So I'm coming up to the corner. And I'm going to stop, get a pin, and I'm going to stop 1/4 inch before the end of it. So just put that pin in 1/4 inch before the end of it. So right up to that pin, and just do a little back stitch. Very gently go over, coming up to that pin. Make sure that you don't actually hit it with your needle. Go back, okay. So you've taken your work off your machine, and what you need to do to get this really nice mitered corner is you actually fold your fabric up on a 45-degree angle like that. Just finger press it a little bit. So it's 45-degree angle there, and then you fold your binding back down like that. Put a pin in there. So there's a fold is against the top of your quilt. Put a pin in there, take it over to the machine. Put a little secure stitch in there. Sew down a little bit and I'll show you how it's. So there is a little mitered corner. So when you turn it over, it'll fit really nice. You can see on the corner there it's mitered. So it's going to be a really nice finish at the front of the quilt when you've finished it. So I'm just going to finish sewing the rest of it, do the same on the corners, and when I get to the part where you have to put it in your pocket, I'll come back to you. So we've got to the last corner. I've done the mitre on that last corner, and what I'm going to do is show you how we've trimmed this to tuck it into the pocket. So I've trimmed it off just above where I started sewing on the outside. So if you remember, we sewed up here with this little triangle folded back, then we folded the triangle over and then we started sewing. So I've trimmed it just before that, and then you just simply place that inside there like that and put a pin in there. I'm going to sew that down. Little back stitch there, and then I'm going to come right down here and I'm going to sew over all those thicknesses in there. Let's get it all nice and flat, and then line it up with that line of stitching from the right at the start. So that's basically, when you turn it over, it's nice and tucked into that little pocket there, and you don't have any extra seams. So now what we've got to do is we'll just iron. I'll just show you a corner part of it. We'll just iron like this, iron it from the back, and ironing out your all of your bindings, and then you have to turn it over. So turned over, it sits over the top of that sewing line that you've just created there. So I'll just show you a little on the mitered corner how you do that. So we'll start with sewing over that little tucked in corner. I'm going to change feet and make it to a flat open toe, not open toe, but a flat foot, so I haven't got the 1/4 inch seam on it. And then, starting just a little bit before that tucked in pocket, making sure that your the seam under here is covered by your by your binding. You can use the little quilt clips, they're quite handy, or you can pin if you want, or you can just slowly go like I am. Do a back stitch there, you come down slowly over the top of this little pocket, because there's quite a few thicknesses in there. Then you're going to come to the corner, which is your Midas corner. Now, sew right up to that 1/4 inch seam with it open. I usually do a back stitch here, go back a bit, and then I turn that over and create a nice little mitered corner. Mitered corner, I should say, not mitered. carefully feed that underneath your sewing machine. And then that's how you do a corner. Do a little bit of a reverse stitch to keep it nice and firm, and just keep going along. So basically you go all the way around till you meet back up here. So we've finished. Congratulations if you've got to the end of it. So it's all done. We've got our binding on. It's all ready to go on your bed, and I hope you enjoyed this Beginners Quilt tuition, and please leave your comments if you'd like. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me, or you can messenger me, or you can text me. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. If you really enjoyed it, hopefully you'll do something else with me. Thanks.